All right. Well, happy New Year's Eve for end of 2021, beginning of 2022. I wanted to do a little follow-up on drill bits and using the drill doctor because there seems to be a little more interest in that than I actually thought there would be. A couple of housekeeping things. Once again, and I shouldn't really have to say it, I appreciate all you guys being here. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you sticking around, subscribing, all that good stuff. And I appreciate all the comments, but I was going through comments again this morning and discovered one that was an unnecessary, we'll say, attack on someone else that had commented. If you want to do that crap on the corn list, on the Atlas lists, if the moderators allow that, and that's why I very rarely will post anything to those lists and any of the other ones that I'm associated with, is because stuff like that comes up. We're not tolerating that bullshit here. You know, this is a place where we have a good time. I consider everybody here friends. I consider the comments to be friendly and hopefully informative. And we're not going to tolerate crap. You know, this is my little playground here, and we play by my rules. And when I saw that comment this morning, I just removed it. You know, unfortunately, it's from a viewer that's been around for a while. He's commented on my stuff before. I've responded back to him and everything. You know, I just removed the comment, and I'm going to leave it at that. If it's something that continues or repeats itself, why I ban the viewer. You know, I mean, it's just that simple. Like I say, my playground, my rules. So anyway, let's get on to what we were talking about. Quite a few comments on the corn, on the why the drill doctor is better than the corn, and that's, you know, that's for sharpening standard drill bits for the most part, and I still stand by that. But there was enough comments and enough interest that I thought we better do a follow-up on it, and I'll kind of show you what's going on. I got some stuff that we've sharpened up here with it, and I just pulled out of the drawer, and then I've got a couple that we're going to go back and sharpen them, kind of go over how I set them up and how I sharpen them. So hopefully it'll be a little bit informative. Drill bit wise, you know, I play with a little bit of everything. Now there's some stuff that the drill doctor won't do, and this is a perfect example here. This is a liner drill, and it's piloted on the end, and then it's got the relief angles cut in it farther down. So specialty item. I learned to do this from a old-time gunsmith, and you know, you can buy these liner drills, and I actually just got sticker shock on these when I looked at the Brownells website, and they want $110 for this liner drill. And one of the things I will say, and this is really not related to this, but one of the things I will say is for anybody that's an aspiring gunsmith out there, if you're following the instructions and using the as-provided tooling to install them, or the liner drills to install them that they're selling you in the way that they advise using them, you're doing it wrong. There's a better way. It's a whole lot better display of craftsmanship. You end up with a whole lot better product, and the way that, you know, the suppliers of these drills, and there's a couple of outfits at least that are supplying piloted drills for installing liners for the gunsmiths. Their recommended ways are wrong. So anyway, you probably should delve into that a little bit deeper and find out what can actually happen. Anyway, I play with a whole bunch of different drill bits, you know, for different things. You know, deep hole drills, 2-fluted deep hole drills. I just started investigating these a little bit, so I don't have really much experience with these at all, but it's something I'm playing with more and more. So anyway, drills, and I'm just going to throw out some drills that I've sharpened. These are all Morse taper drills, and let me bring this down here. These are all Morse taper drills, and this is stuff that I've acquired, you know, yard sale, estate sale, ordered them in a lot of stuff, whatever the case may be. So these are just ones that were scarfed up, and these have all been sharpened on the drill doctor. And you look at these, you can see the release were cut way deeper originally, so there's places that weren't cleaned up on the drill doctor. Doesn't matter, we've got front edges cutting, and we actually have split the points. And I referred to this as relieving it yesterday in the corn video, but these are actually, we're splitting the points on these. Now on these bigger drill bits, there again, anything over 1/2 inch, I normally will run a pilot drill through. But anyway, that's the that's the grind you get on these. Now, I have to fess up and say that if I do, I don't know where it is, but I did not find a drill gauge to check angles on drills. So I was out here earlier playing with my little protractor. I've got it set up for 118 degrees, and I don't worry about changing it to 135. One of the comments I got said it looked like I was cutting a 135 point on there. I'm not. It's 118. It actually measures out to be right at 120 degrees. For in the shop, for home shop use, for what I do with it, I don't think it makes a bit of difference. You know, I mean, I can't tell on most of my machines, and yes, there is a difference, but so what? You know, not a big deal as long as we're consistent, get a good round hole, and that's pretty much on size. So anyway, that's the way they grind. This is the same way. You know, you can see on the back sides where it didn't clean up. But we've got the cutting edges as we use these over the next few years and sharpen them up, why it will clean up more of that overcut relief. So these were all done on the, now this one's been sharpened and then I've used it on a couple of things. Used it at least once. There again, not quite cleaning up the relief on the back of that was ground probably freehand before. Here's another one that's been used. I can see just by the dirt and markings on it a little bit. But the points come out real nice. We get good cutting edges, and we get a good consistent drill sharpening. And that's the main reason for showing these, is just to show that they are pretty consistent. You know, I get the same results all the time. And this one's got quite a bit more of the heel that was relieved on there. And there again, usually anything over about 5/16 or a quarter inch, I'll drill a pilot hole first. And I've got about 3 here that we'll go ahead and sharpen. This is how I've played with sharpening the smaller bits. And this is a machinist bedside reader idea. This is one of the things that's in, I think, probably the first bedside reader. But your drill bit just goes in through. The problem with it is they're so small, you almost need some sort of a magnification to be able to set it. Then you drag them or feed them across an oil stone like that to sharpen it. You get a 4-facet grind on them like you would get on the corn tool and cutter grinder. So the reason for dragging out those liner drills is you can't sharpen them entirely on a drill doctor. What I've done is I've cut my relief, or I've got my initial pilot going, but then I've gone back probably on the corn, and I think I did some of these with a tool post grinder before I had my corn done. Go ahead, grind your pilot, and then set your angle here, and then I cut all my release by hand on there. So that's the way those go. Got a couple of bits that we're just going to touch up. These are both just under 7/16, I believe. And then I've got a really nasty one, and we're going to grind this one and see what we can do on it. Now this bit's pretty much trash. It's been screwed up and stuff. I suppose I could go back and clean up the shank and turn it to a straight shank something and have a drill bit, but this one was all scarfed up on the ends. Whoever ground this at some point in time, we got big flats there that are all chipped up, and then we've got way big relief cuts on the back. So somebody screwed this one up. Maybe it's salvageable, maybe it's not, but we're going to grind it just to see if we can. And I've gone with these bigger bits, so it's a little bit easier to see. So my drill doctor is the old 500 in the box. And there's the way it looks. We're set for 118 degrees. And I leave it set right in the middle. At one time I played with plus and negative on them and everything. I haven't screwed with it. So I bought the complete kit originally. Now I have changed the diamond grinding wheel once. It was about 20 bucks when they were back in the day. These, I believe, came with the up to 1/2 inch collet, and then they had an optional, I think it's up to 3/4. And then the instructions and the wrench and whatever else is in the case that don't make any difference to us today. Now I say we're going to try and do this bigger bit. I wonder if it'll fit. It may be too big to... Yep, we can sneak it in there. So we'll get to that one. Okay, let's look at comments. Have the same as you do, however, having problems with the drill sliding back in the chuck. Never really had a problem with them sliding back in the chuck myself. This one's kind of nasty looking here. And this one's just a touch-up. Here is all it is. The way I will set these up is I run them into where they're just snug. You know, they'll still move, still rotate through the fingers. Then when they go in the machine, these flats index up, and this is well used, so yes, it's worn. One of the complaints is they're too sloppy, don't hold enough tolerance. So line them up, slide them in that way, up against the collet, and I want to be able to rotate it. And I don't think it really matters where it lines up in the collet itself. They'll align themselves. You line up until the fingers go. Now I make sure that the fingers are pretty well even across there, because when you pull them, why it goes like yay. If you've got it off-centered, why sometimes one finger will drop down. It's not going to do it now, but sometimes one finger will drop down, the other will be holding out a little bit. I make sure they're in there, seat them up, initially tighten it right there, pull it out, give it another tighten, and it's there and fixed. You want to rotate it in full revolution, a half and then another half to get them to cut. And I just use one smooth motion to rotate them. Now see, this isn't quite cleaned up. I've got a little bit on the outer edges here that'll clean up. But I would normally rotate them twice through. And if you read the manual, it tells you how many revolutions to do. I normally will run 2 revolutions and then look at it. And you know, if I've got something that's really scarfed up, I'll do 6 or 8. The problem is you run them in there, why it changes your angle off of where it's pivoting off the nose. I normally just nice smooth when your top alignment's what aligns with the cam. Now my cam is well worn on this, and this is where it rotates down off of this cam. I've built this up once with 5-minute epoxy, and it's worked okay. You know, so I'm sure the point on this is not optimal. But anyway, we can run a couple through here. And we're going to reset it and run it again. We still haven't cleaned up that outer edge. Always an equal number of revolutions, otherwise you will end up off-centered. But there's that's cleaned up all the way along. Got a nice front edge. We're going to leave that right there. Then to split the point, they say run it in twice, and usually I will do that. If it's a real small bit, I'll only touch it in there once. And there's our relief grind. This one being worn as much as it is, I don't expect these to be perfect. So we're going to have to, probably as soon as I go back into where it's warm this morning, why we'll get online and we'll have a drill gauge on the way. But I'm going to have to get around and probably order a 750, because now I'm just curious as to how well it's going to work. So I'm going to call that good right there. So the release built in, split point will split, and you want it to, they say you want your line across the top to be pretty much straight across. I look for my point on the top, evenness on the heel of it back here. On the very heel you can see the grind, and make sure it's equal on both sides, and then you should be pretty much good to go. So there's one more that can go back in the holder. This one's got a little bit of a chip here, so we're going to get rid of that. This one's got a little bit of a chip right here, so we're going to get rid of that chip. So this will take 8 or 10 turns probably. Now when you split the point on the other side, there is a little index point right there. That's where you want to line up your white mark, and it goes in. I normally just rotate it and then bump it in. And if you're consistent and smooth and just try and hold it centered, I don't think you have a problem with inconsistencies. Yes, this is sloppy and it's plastic and all that good stuff, but for the price point on it, I think they work exceptionally well. So same thing. A little too tight. Right into position. Straight in forward pressure, and you get an even cut. Now we haven't got rid of our chip there yet, so we're going to continue with this. But just at that, as long as you keep your pressure straight in and just rotate it, it's going to be even on both sides. If you've got it set right, set even when you initially set it up in the jig. Okay, there we go. A little bit of a burr on the edge there. But we got rid of our chip on whichever flute that was on. We've got our split point on the back. It just starts to break on the top of that curve on both sides, so I'm going to call that even. Looks pretty good. So that's the way it's done. And I get those same consistent results all the way through. So I think it's more a feel thing than anything else, you know, and just practice with them. See what else we've got for comment-wise and see what I've missed here. Okay, there appears to be some variability in how the bit aligns in the setting fixture. It needs a couple degrees more or less rotation to get the proper clearance. And there again, I think that's, I worked that a little bit, make sure it's flat, make sure the fingers come down evenly on it, and it's pretty much set up. You've got it there. It's going to be consistent. When splitting the point, a little pressure up or down makes the difference between the split point removing part of the lip or splitting correctly. And I think that's true. There again, just practice just straight on in. Okay, and that I think addresses most of the main things. Let's see if we can drill this one ugly old drill bit. And get something worth having here. So I'm going to start out forming this freehand on the bench grind, or on the belt grinder. And we'll get that straightened up a little bit and see what we can come up with. Okay, this is what we're going to start off with. I think we've got too steep an angle here. I think we're going to narrow it down when we get over there. And other than that, it will come along pretty good. And there again, I could take a little more time and grind this to a little bit better profile, but this is a exercise on the drill doctor. So let's go back over there. I wondered why it wasn't cooling as good as it should. It's because my water's frozen. So let's go back over to the bench here and take a look at it. Okay, same setup, goes back into the collet just like yay. We'll just do probably 2 full rotations here just to see what our pattern is. Yeah, see, we're way proud up here on top. So we're going to take a fair amount of grinding to get on down there. On these bigger bits is where you start losing the time and money savings, or time and energy savings. You're putting a lot of stress on the little machine and working the diamond quite a bit to get these ground down. But there again, we'll let's continue on and see what we get. See, I should have dropped this angle down a little bit more when I was initially grinding it on the belt sander. One more time, and then we're going to stop right there. We've got to the edge of that cutting edge right there, but we're just about to the capacity of this little machine here. Okay, there it is. Now see, I can continue going on there and bring that on down, but we're right at the capacity of this. This is kind of hard on this. This is a lot of grinding wheel to be in contact there. We've broken this edge. I normally like to go back a little bit farther than that. You know, ideally I'd like to go back to the little indentation there on that flute, but we've got good cutting edge all the way along. It's nice and consistent, and this is right at the capacity of this. So what is this? This is a 23/32 drill bit, and what I will probably do is chuck this up in the lathe, and I may do that right now, and we'll turn a little bit of a shank down here. I don't know that we want to go all the way down. I don't know what this measures out to be. I suppose we could look at point angle here very quickly and see where we're at. Hopefully that shows up fairly well there. But that's a nice consistent point angle. I've got no complaints with that whatsoever. So I think we'll leave this right here. You know, hopefully that gives you a little bit of information about some of this stuff. You know, that's a perfectly good drill bit. It's still not the prettiest in the world, but it will do exactly what it's supposed to do. I may go over very quickly and turn this down. What have they turned this shank to before? Let's see, we can probably turn that down to a 3/8 shank and have a good bit. Let me go and take a look at this. I'll be right back. Alright, well, I said I'd be right back. There's our drill bit. Now we got a scarfed up shank here. We knew it was scarfed up. But we've got a consistent shank all the way back. It's cleaned up on all the major surfaces. We're just at 3/8 of an inch. It's just slightly under. We're about 373, 3725, something like that. And it runs pretty true. Unfortunately, I've got a project set up in the mill that I can't actually share. Otherwise, we could chuck up a couple of these drill bits and see how well they cut. But, you know, you're going to have to take my word for it for this point in time. If you want to see a little bit more about these, and if you want to see them running and actually cutting why, let me know and we can do a follow-up video on this. You know, I found this kind of intriguing. I thought you might enjoy it. I thought you might be able to get a little bit of mileage out of it. So, anyway, there's our final results. You know, we've got a good drill bit that's going to perform satisfactorily for what we want to do. You know, I mean, it's not perfect, but it was a scrap drill bit that would have gone in the trash otherwise. You know, I mean, so we've got a shank tool that we can chuck up in either the lathe or the mill, drill press, you know, type of thing, and working within the tolerances that will perform. But as far as cutting, you know, sharpening those drill bits and everything, on these bigger bits it takes probably more time than it's worth. You know, I think I probably spent 45 minutes screwing around with this one. I don't know exactly how long I've been out here at it once we started sharpening this one. But like I say, it's something that was in a junk box basically that would have been worth nothing. So we've got a drill bit that's functional. That's how I sharpen bits for the most part in the shop. I think the drill doctors work good. I think there's a good, you know, they're a good viable option for a relatively inexpensive option. I think there's some techniques with them. You know, I think maybe some of the problems that some of the guys are having is just not using them enough to have a feel for them. Split points, you know, there was really no reason to put a split point on this one other than it cleaned up a little bit and removed a little more material for when I sharpen it next time. You know, get rid of a little bit of that back heel that you don't have to grind down when you're resharpening. On the smaller bits it works quite well. I normally will split point just about everything. On these bigger ones where there's going to be a pilot in front of them, I don't know that it's really necessary. So anyway, questions, comments, suggestions, leave in the comment section for me below. This is New Year's Eve. Everybody have a happy New Year. Be safe. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch. Alright, we're still screwing around here. Now, the little bit that I had in the little square fixture, we've set it up here. And I don't know if this is going to focus, if we're going to be able to see it at all or anything. Now, I dicked around with this for, 3 or 4 minutes probably. And the grind on it is not ideal. But it is, and the problem you run into on these, or the problem I've run into on this one, is I tried to split the point. Now, this is where it really shows up that it's just, there's enough play in the machine that it just does not give me, it's not accurately centering it up the way it should be. Now I think the grind's okay, I think it will cut, and I think it'll be okay. Do I trust it for a hole that I want a really good precise size on? No, I don't. I think it's off just enough, and that really showed itself in the split point. And I see one of these release here that shows quite a bit of material removal on the split point. Now the leading cutting edges to me look pretty good here, and I think they'll be okay. I had them under magnification beyond what I've got here just with my old guy glasses. But I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera at all or not. But you can see on one side on the relief cut, it looks like it's really dug down in there quite a ways on one flute as opposed to the other. And that's where you run into inconsistencies on these little inexpensive machines. But normally for these little bits like this, I've got a drawer that or a little box that I throw these into, and I cut them down for pins or slave pins, something that I need a relatively precise size on. So all of my little pieces of stock, that whether they're broken drill bits or little pieces of drill rod or something, I'll use those for a lot of the time slave pins. So I'll go in and I can modify these. So I normally will just pitch these and pull a new one out of the drawer. Anyway, that's the end of this. Have a good New Year.